This is the Sports Pavilion and Bowling Committee meeting. This is the Recreation Centers of Sun City West. Today is September the 11th, 2024, and it's 1:30 in the afternoon. My name is Dick Rhodes. I'm the chairman of this committee, and I am officially calling this meeting to order. It's 1:30. So today is September the 11th, and I know you all know what that means. I'm going to ask you to stand for the pledge. I want to mention that there is a ceremony this afternoon at 5 p.m. in the bowling alley. It would be maybe about a 20-minute recognition ceremony, memoriam. So I would encourage you to either go, or at least I want to let you know that that's available to go. This is something very near and dear to me. I was in Washington, D.C. on September the 11th. So I'm going to ask you to stand, if you can, for the pledge. We do have a quorum here. We will introduce the members. We will introduce the members very shortly, but we have one member that is remote, and she's listening in. We are having technical difficulties, so we're not going to be able. Thank you. Gloria, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Thank you. We no longer have technical difficulties. So,
I'm doing it by phone.
Thank you. We'll introduce the members of the committees shortly, but we have a quorum. We have one member that's remote. We do have one member that has an excused absence. So we have 8 of our members here with us today. Our meeting procedures are changing a bit. The way we're going to, I want to read a statement, and this is being read at all of the meetings, all of the governing board meetings, and all of the meetings such as ours. So I'm going to read it verbatim. And if you'd please bear with me about this. The governing board conducts all of its meetings, including the committee meetings, in compliance with the Arizona Open Meetings Law, pursuant to ARS 33-1804, and in concert with the RCSCW bylaws, policies, and standing rules. Parliamentary procedures, as outlined in the most recent edition of Robert's Rules of Order, will also be followed consistent with the bylaws 3.07, procedures for owner-member meetings, and standing rules number 2 and number 3. All questions and comments are directed to the committee chairperson. All comments are entertained at the discretion of the committee chairperson. Speakers shall state their name and their member number and speak in a courteous manner. Committee chairpersons may limit the commentary time and the number of speakers on any issue. The committee chairperson may also redirect commentary at individual agenda items to the general guest comments agenda line item, except when the committee has discussed the agenda item and a formal vote is to be taken. All fire and safety precautions and regulations are strictly obeyed at all meetings per the guidance of the Arizona Fire and Medical Authority. The committee chairperson reserves the right to adjourn any meeting if the safety of the committee, the meeting attendees, or others is deemed at risk, or if there is too much disruption to continue. After one verbal warning by the chairperson, the committee chairperson also reserves the right to ask any meeting attendees to leave any meeting should their behavior be deemed dangerous or unacceptable, and disciplinary actions may follow. We're going to go to item 2.01, and that's the approval of the minutes from May the 15th for the Sports Pavilion. They've been posted on BoardDocs. Hearing no dissent, we're going to assume that they're approved. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Tom O'Donoghue. Mr. O'Donoghue is a member of the Fire Marshal's office. So at that, Mr. O'Donoghue, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've been invited here just to remind you about the safety precautions from the Fire Marshal's office. As you know, that every building you go in, or maybe you don't know that, every building you go in has received our stamp of approval for the construction and the type, and whether we mandate sprinkler systems and fire alarms, etc. There's also things that we follow in the International Fire Code, along with those previously mentioned, that have to do with how many people can be in a building. I'm sure you understand the need for that. You get too many people, or if they block the aisleways, that it could be a safety hazard in case there was a fire. So we're here to make sure that you all know that the this room has been identified as having 107 occupants that can be in here. That does not include anybody standing in the hallways or the aisleways or up against the back of the room. And that also includes everybody that would be in the lobby area as well. Those things can be enforced. We'll go through we'll talk to like Russ Boston and others inside the facilities management and make sure that those are enforced. But we were invited here to remind everybody that it is actually in the International Fire Code, and we've adopted that, and those rules will be enforced. If there's any questions, I'll entertain those. Other than that.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone have questions? No. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
My pleasure.
We appreciate you coming out and talking to us today.
Have a good meeting, and
Thank you, sir,
for observing September 11th.
Thank you. The next thing I'm going to talk about is, these are some housekeeping chores, but I think they're the things that we need to go through. We won't spend a lot of time on them because I think they're fairly self-explanatory. The first thing is the use of a microphone, and I'm really talking to the committee members here. Well, I'm talking to anyone in the audience as well, because if you choose to come up and make comment, you have to come up to the podium over here. And we do want you to talk into the microphone. So the basic rules on the microphone usage, just be sure it's turned on. That is the number one rule, and it's the one that we all miss. Talk into the microphone 3 or 4 inches or 4 or 5 inches away from it. So that's pretty much it. So, okay. I do want to go now through to item number 4.02, and this is going to be the introduction of our committee members. What I plan to do is just to recognize the committee member, and then I've talked with them in advance, and they're going to give us a little brief bio on why they want to be on the board and the reasons why we wanted to select them and any questions and such. So I'm going to start first with Mr. Kleckner.
Hello, everyone. My name is Paul Kleckner. I've lived in Sun City West since 2017, and during that time, I've been an avid bowler, an avid golfer, and a person who likes all the facilities in Sun City West, but most particularly the Sports Pavilion. I look at myself as being a representative of all the people of Sun City West that use that facility, and I want to make sure that the best possible place that we can enjoy ourselves is available to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Carol Card.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, Carol Card. I've lived here for 8 years. I moved up from Tucson, where I was a registered nurse and part of the heart team there, and I managed the surgery unit. I am a member of many different clubs. I enjoy all of those. I enjoy living here in the community. I tend to navigate to sports clubs and activities. So being on this committee in particular was very fitting for me. I just completed 3 years on the Chartered Clubs Committee, so I have a taste of what this may involve. Thank you.
The next is Deborah Coker.
Hi, I'm Debbie Coker. I do go by Debbie. I moved to Sun City West in 2022. I'm a member of several different clubs, but my favorite place to be is in the Sports Pavilion bowling. So I decided it was time to get a little more involved and take care of my community. Thank you.
Okay, Sherry Gingrich.
Good afternoon. My name is Sherry Gingrich. I purchased my first home in 2007 before I retired. And then in 2012, when I retired, I moved here full-time from Minnesota, where I bowled in several leagues for many years. And I actually started my bowling career in Worthington, Minnesota as a kid in a 16-alley bowling alley. So I've been bowling my entire life. And moving here was an opportunity to start again in something that I hadn't done for 2 years. So I moved here in 2012, and then I didn't bowl at all for the first 2 years until I met my neighbor, Mike Watt. And Mike said, hey, one of our teams needs a bowler. So I got on, and it's been history ever since. I am active in the yoga club, the fitness club. I golf at Stardust. I ride my bike every day. I walk my dog every day. But my passion is bowling. And I have bowled in a lot of tournaments around Arizona and in national tournaments in Reno and in Las Vegas. And when you compare the houses in Arizona to this one, there is no comparison. We have probably the finest bowling center in the state of Arizona, bar none. It's clean, it's kept up, it's maintained as best as any around. So I want to help keep that, and so I wanted to be part of this committee again. Thank you.
Thank you. To my right is Mr. Norman Falcone.
Good afternoon, I'm Norm Falcone. I've been here full-time for the last 5 years. I started coming to Sun City West when my parents moved here in 1986, and I knew that this was a place ultimately that I would probably end up. Once I got here, I had to decide, what do you really want to do here? There's so many different opportunities in Sun City West. I gravitated towards sports. I like the outdoors. The indoor sports pavilion provides me opportunities to get together with people in a variety of different ways. So I like the sports pavilion. I just tried to learn recently how to play golf. My primary focus in the last couple of years has been with the computer club here at Sun City West, where I've agreed to be their president, and I have done so for the last couple of years, and I've been involved with many meetings and a lot of learning of the processes and facilities here at Sun City West through that capacity and how all of the facilities are utilized here in Sun City West. My goal is the same as Paul's. I like to see that people get to use these facilities and that all the availability for the residents is there when they want it and if they need it. So again, I am looking forward to being a part of this committee.
Next is Mr. Bob Edge.
Good afternoon, I'm Bob Edge. I've been in Sun City West since about 2015, and I look across the dais. This is my second year here on the committee. Last year I was invited to join the committee because we didn't have any bowling representation on the committee, and Paul and Gary and I came on as that bowling representation. I'm so happy to see we have bowlers on the bowling rec center committee. That'll help improve the bowling, I'm sure. I tend to disagree with what Sherry just said. This bowling center is not the best bowling center in Arizona. It's probably the best bowling center in the country. I mean, it is outstanding. I've bowled in probably 20 different states. I've bowled state tournaments, national tournaments, moose tournaments, you name the association. And this place is just the cream of the crop. So very proud to be here and be a part of this committee, and look forward to continuing the improvement and working with Carl on the Lizard Acres Pub. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'm going to ask Gloria Ara. She is remote, so there is a delay here. We might want to just keep that in mind. Gloria, are you there?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Could you give us a little brief bio on why you wanted to be on the committee and who you are?
Well, I'm a coming on 3-year resident. We are snowbirds from Michigan. This will be the first time on a committee. A lot to learn there. I'm an RN. I was a hospice nurse for many years. I'm still currently working for Quest Diagnostics, doing some health screenings and flu shots. I also have a degree in accounting, and I had a tax business. I am a golfer, a bowler, and pickleball player. Last year I bowled a couple nights a week at the bowling center, and I am on the league at Deer Valley. I do spend a lot of time up at the pavilion, whether it's at the pool or in the bowling center or at Lizard Acres. My reason for coming on the committee is I really want the best for our community and have the residents have a great experience, whichever sport they decide to participate in. And I do agree with Bob and Sherry that we do have a phenomenal bowling center.
Thank you. I have another member, a committee member who could not be here at the last minute. Her name is Terry Fulkerson. And Terry is a very new resident to Sun City West, less than a year. But she was very enthusiastic and wanted to jump right in and engage in the activities here in Sun City West, and I was very impressed with her when I talked with her. So at that, that's Terry Fulkerson. I will ask Gary Zarek to be the last person, but I'll tell you a little bit about me. I have been in Sun City West since 2011. It took us about 4 months to figure out that being a snowbird was not a good idea. So by definition, we sold our other house. I became interested in the governing board. I was complaining about some of the things that were going on about 3 years ago. And my wife said, you probably need to put your money where your mouth is. So I decided, okay, I'll run for the governing board. And the rest of it's kind of history. Professionally, I worked for the Department of Veterans Affairs for 41 years. I was in Washington, D.C. on September the 11th, and so I know firsthand what the size of the destruction was because I walked past the Pentagon as it was burning. We think Sun City West is Valhalla. We were planning to retire in the Keys in Florida. My wife's sister and her husband lived here. They invited us to come down and visit, and we did, and 8 days later, we owned a house. I'm not sure how that happened, but back in 2011, there were so many open houses that they literally were on every street corner. So the rest of it's history. Gary Zarek.
Good afternoon. I am Gary Zarek, the new bowling manager at R.H. Johnson. I liked the bowling alley so much, I tried to get a job there, and I was hired. So I am in charge of the bowling program and everything in Sports Pavilion. It truly has been a amazing experience for the last 2 months. And I've only been here 2 months and learning every day, enjoying the heck out of it. And I hope that I can keep up this wonderful bowling program and this wonderful bowling center to the standards that it was when I first walked in. It truly has been an honor to be here. And every day I cannot believe that this is a job that I come and do in this wonderful facility. So I appreciate you all. I appreciate anybody who hired me, interviewed me. It has just been absolutely fantastic. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary. Gary is actually our resource person for the committee. So Gary, would you mind to comment on Greg Moran? He's also one of the...
Greg Moran is my assistant manager at the center. He pretty much, before I hired on, with the health of the previous manager, Barry Hardesty, Greg pretty much ran the bowling programs and the bowling centers and did a wonderful, amazing job for an awful lot of hours and maybe not a lot of support. I'm not really sure. But he is as proud of that center as I am, and I am as proud to work with him as I can possibly be. He is a hardworking, conscientious, knows everything, don't have to ask him twice to do something. He is truly an asset to me and makes my job much, much easier.
Thank you. I would like to say, just kind of in wrapping up the whole committee and you learning about them, I interviewed about 30 people for these positions, and I don't know that we had what I would call real qualifications, but every one of them are supremely qualified. Beyond the fact that they have a deep interest in not just the bowling alley and the sports pavilion and pool and the Lizard Acres and kind of the whole myriad of things that are there, but they all demonstrated to me that they were here for the right reasons, that they're objective, they're not agenda driven, and they're people that we really want. So I'm very excited to have this group here with us today. So we're going to go on to, and we're still in housekeeping here, using BoardDocs and accessing the YouTube. We've actually, on the committee, from the committee's perspective, we've been through this, and I've had discussions with all of the committee members, and they seem to understand. But just from an overall general perspective, the routing to get through into BoardDocs is go to RCSCW website, and on the right side is there's an icon for the governing board. And once you see all the pictures of the governing board folks right below it, there are 3 more icons, and one of them is BoardDocs. If you haven't found BoardDocs yet, it is a plethora of knowledge. It's a repository of information, and anything you wanted to know is probably there, including our policies, our agendas, the schedules, and the whole thing. So to that degree, and YouTube, assessing this is really going into YouTube and in the search engine, typing in Sports Pavilion and Bowling Committee. And we just did it here when we lost it a minute ago, and Sherry and I kind of one-handedly brought it back up to life, so it is really fairly easy to do. So we're going to drop down to commit to 4.5 as committee roles. One of the things that we on the Sports Pavilion and Bowling Committee understand, as do all of the committees understand, that we're policy driven. Our job is policy, and that's exactly where we plan to stay, is in policy. There are some changes that are being made, one of which is the way minutes are taken and the way that they're going to be documented. It's in a much more abbreviated version. So that is, we started this year. I'm going to talk a little bit more later on about our policy reviews for the review of our policies for the Sports Pavilion. We only have 5, but we still review them annually. And we do it with a straight face. We'll do it, and I'll talk a little bit more about our plan to do that. So I'm not sure, I don't think there's really anything else that I can say. The mechanics of being a committee member, are pretty straightforward. Show up, do your homework, prepare for the meeting, be professional, don't speak over people, and then you have to address. I will have to recognize you to speak, and anyone from the audience will be referring their comments to me, where I will either respond or broker it or not respond. That's pretty much it. So let's go forward to, let me just kind of in aggregate here, usually when you go from line item to line item, you give the audience and the committee an opportunity to talk. We've gone from 4.1 to 4.05, and we didn't do that, but I think we can probably, at this point, I'm going to ask the committee if they have any comments or any questions regarding the items that we've covered. Okay, if not, I'm going to open it to the audience. Anyone there has any comments or questions? And Sherry, do we have any comments or questions from anyone online? So we don't. We're going to move forward, and we're going to move to our staff reports. Mr. Zarek, item 5.01, it's going to have the Sports Pavilion and Bowling Manager report. It's all yours, my friend.
The Sports Pavilion for August of 2024 really is a 2-week average of bowling and leagues and games, being that we were down for 2 weeks for house cleaning and repairs. So the August 2024 numbers are really rather low because of the bowling center being closed for 2 weeks. Now that the winter leagues have started and the season has picked up immensely, you will see September to be very, very busy. But August, because of the shutdown, which, by the way, we are going to try not to do next season, if at all possible. It is something that should be done more frequently during the year rather than have to shut down a nice cool bowling center when it's 115 degrees outside. So we are going to try to do our darndest to keep the bowling center open as much as possible. The only exceptions would be new projects coming on, which are on the docket to be done. We will see if that all gets approved, and we will go from there. The Lizard Acres Lounge, we now have some financials on that. July is, I believe I have July, not August. We are showing sales, cost of goods, and gross sales, and then wages and a contribution or a loss, and we made $1,578 in July. Taken into effect that we have very, very few leagues in July. So activity in the lounge, other than the Friday nights and the trivia Tuesdays, the lounge is pretty empty. And the hours are reduced. We're only open 3 to 9, where in a bowling season, the hours are extended a lot more. So these numbers will definitely increase August and September for sure. I would just like to say that in case you haven't been there in a while, while we were down, we've installed a new sound system, which is absolutely amazing. It is fantastic. We are working in the billiard room. We have replaced felt on 10 of the pool tables that needed to be done, and they are finishing that up today, I believe. And we will try to get the other 17 in a timely manner so that the felt gets changed a lot more. Pool cues are coming in, 18 new ones. We're doing that. 6 of them are here. 12 more of them are coming in this afternoon. And I am going to California tomorrow to look at new pin setters. We were in Nevada 2 weeks ago, the mechanic and I, looking at a already installed pin setter. And now we're going to San Diego tomorrow to take a look at pin setters that are coming out from Hungary and they need to be installed. So all positive things, masking units, foul lights, ball tracks, all things that need to be looked at because they're aged, are being looked at, and it's a very exciting time. There are a lot of improvements coming to that bowling center, and it is by far already one of the top in the country, if not, like Bob said, the finest. So everybody's excited. We will keep you updated as to progress as to what goes on at the meetings. And hopefully by October, we'll have a lot more information on what's going to go on in there. Thank you.
So I just want to make a comment, and Gary, if you'd correct me if I'm wrong, the pin setters are scheduled for replacement on the reserve study,
They are.
okay? And so let me say that again, they're on the reserve study. So we have the money. You know, it's not that, this is not new. We're positioned to buy this, okay? So. Anyone have any questions for Gary from the committee? Yes, sir, Mr. Edge?
I just want to point out to Gary that I'm sure he's heard it, at least I hope he's heard it, both 3 times now since the center reopened, and Gary has standardized the shot on the lanes. There's more to a bowling center than the aesthetics. Probably the most important thing is the condition of the lanes and the shot that's going to be available. And Gary made a decision to standardize that shot. And so far, normally, when you come into a bowling center, everybody's complaining about the shot. It hooks too much, it doesn't hook enough, you know, it's too long, it's too short. So far, I just want to say thank you, Gary. Everybody that has come to me has been positive in the new shot that you put out.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Gloria, do you have any comments, questions?
No, I think I'm good. I can't
Okay.
wait to get back there to bowl. I'm excited.
Good, thank you. Do we have any questions from anyone in the audience? Anyone online? No, we do not, okay. Let's go forward to item number 5.02, Sports Pavilion Financial Report. Mr. Swan?
Thank you, Director Rhodes. I just want to point out that my shot never changes, and it's not good. But also, I want to point out that it has been a pleasure for the last couple months to work with Gary and the team, and we are excited about it. A couple of the new things you might have seen on the manager's report. We're also reporting the billiards usage, because they kind of been forgotten about over the years. So we want to make sure they get some time and some face time, and that people understand that at 2,600 check-ins a month, that's pretty substantial. So we're excited to present that as well. So we're going to go over the June prior year financial. I will say that this is unaudited, just like every month when we report. But Clifton Larson Allen is our audit firm. They'll be here, well, they were here for the audit, and they'll be presenting our final audited financial statements in October at the BNF meeting in October. So just want to point that out, but we do have good numbers here. And it was a very, very successful year in the Sports Pavilion. So taking a look at the 2023-2024 numbers for the Sports Pavilion on the revenue side, we finished 18,000 behind budget. This was because of an additional extension of closure when we were replacing the lanes, and did a lot of work to make up the ground on the rounds, but the lost revenue from the strike zone being closed and the restaurant being closed in the form of rent, we were never really able to recover there. But there is a little bit of a silver lining here, and we'll show you that. But pretty good, over $1 million in revenue generated by the Sports Pavilion for the year. Taking a look at the expense structure, obviously when you're closed, you're not paying people, so you'll see some savings in the wages and benefits and taxes, so kind of offset that loss in revenue, as well as a budgeted dollar increase in minimum wage when it only went up 50 cents. So we kind of made that up in the budget, and on the expense structure with a $35,000 favorable in expenses compared to budget. And I'm proud to report that the Sports Pavilion operates at a cash inflow and at a $91,000 cash inflow to this association, and outpacing budget by $17,000. Compared to prior year, we did some bowling rate increases, and although our lineage didn't catch up with prior year, with those increased rates, we had a $74,000 increase in revenue, even with the loss of the rental revenue with the Sports Pavilion being closed. Looking at the lineage, like I said, we under prior year by approximately 1,100 lines, but at 290,000, 289,000 lines of bowling, we're very busy in the Sports Pavilion. To break that down a little bit more in terms of revenue, how we did for the year, so I'm reporting the changes in revenue on the different bowler types. So we've got league, member open, guest open, promotional, and the CMP card is the card that the outside league bowlers are required to purchase. But 56,000 and broken out through these different areas at a 7% increase. Looking at the expense structure compared to prior year, we were unfavorable to prior year by 64,000, all budgeted for, of course, but you can see where the budget increased in those different areas. And specifically in wages and benefits and taxes, of course, with wage increases, you're going to have that, the cost of health insurance increasing as well. Workers' comp insurance went up a little bit last year as well, so that's reflected in the increase year over year, which is budgeted for. And then we took advantage of the closure and did some flooring repairs and did some additional billiards table resurfacing last year to the tune of $16,000. But all in all, a very good year. So all in all, 10,000 above prior year, from 81,000 to 91,000 operating cash inflow. That concludes my financial report.
Cliff, I do have one question for you. Would you care to explain on page, it's the year-to-date summary of expenses, actual v prior, all other? No, wait a minute. That's not right. It's the summary of revenue. Mm-hmm. Bowling, ancillary, food and beverage, and then other. What is that? In the other revenue section, that's where we post our acts and entertainment that come through. Okay. So it's a contra revenue. We report those in. This is a great question. Okay, so we report events revenue in gross after we pay the expenses, and we take in the revenue. We don't charge at the door, so we're only seeing expense here because there is no revenue to offset that in the revenue section. However, that's how we report it throughout the association. So in the Sports Pavilion division, it shows as a negative amount because we don't collect any revenue there. That's why that's it. So this is only for the entertainment that's in the lounge then, in Lizard Lounge?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Does anyone on the committee have a question or a comment for No. Gloria, do you have any comments or questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, do I have any questions from the audience? Do we have any comments online? Okay. Cliff, thank you very much. Professional as always. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
We're going to proceed to new business. Committee goals and important tasks for the year. I think that's kind of a loaded question for the very first meeting that we have. I can say that we know that there are some issues that are going to be surfacing. We talked about the pin setters. We know that there's going to be some work that's being done in the billiard area. So we will have to work and develop that throughout. Probably that might even be an item that we'll look at our next meeting. So does anyone have any comments or questions or suggestions on that? I'd actually like to open that up to the committee. So in my defense, even the two people that are coming in from last year don't have any comment on that. So, okay. Carl, 6.02. Mr. Wilhelm, will you please give us an update on Lizard Acres?
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to announce that due to the minimum wage increase ballot kind of falling through, I have been released to pursue the Lizard Acres bar expansion and remodel. So that's exciting. Where I'm currently at right now is due to that information, I have re-engaged with the architects. Tomorrow, in fact, I'm meeting with the engineers, and we are going to do a very deep dive into electrical. I have all of the equipment for the equipment that goes behind the bar, supporting kegs and glass chillers, and our sound system, lighting upgrades and changes. We are definitely stressed in the Sports Pavilion, so we're doing a deep dive to find out where we are going to pull that electrical from. And once that's solved, I think the architects and engineers are going to move quite quickly, and we'll probably move right into taking our first level set of plans to the county for review. And then my hopes is to have permit readiness in early winter. So let's just say February or March is my goal, and be ready and prepared for a closure in either April or May. So the things that I have completely priced out to a favorable against budget for that project is all equipment is coming in under what I originally put in my proposal. The sound system is coming in right at budget. And once I have a little bit more information from the architectural team, I will start pursuing 3 general contractors to help me finalize and make sure that we're in budget. So that's our update, and look forward to the project.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Carl about this? Does anyone in the audience have any questions about Carl? Does anyone online have questions? Thank you. Carl, if I thought I was going to put you on the spot, I wouldn't do this, but I know that you're so thoroughly ingrained in all of the projects. I'm looking at the May minutes, and there's a comment in there that there's something about evaluating the strike shop space needs. And do you recall that?
I do recall the conversation. Formally, it was not presented with anything July 1st as a deadline for discussion for anything to be put on the new year 25-26 capital budget. So if that is a discussion, then it would be your preparedness as a committee to talk about it for the 26, 27 preparation.
Yeah, I don't think it is, Carl. I just wanted to close the loop on that is all.
Yeah.
So, okay. Okay, Carl, thank you.
great day.
Very
Thank you.
professional, also very professional. Appreciate it. We're going to move to item 6.03, the Sports Pavilion and Bowling Policy Review Plan. Every year we're required, we, the committee and the governing board, are required to review policies. Now, we have 5, and I have gone through all of them, and I can't say with any level of certainty if they're ready to go or not. So I think what we'll do is I'll develop a plan, and next meeting, we'll make assignments on how we're going to review the policies, who's going to do it. I'll probably do it in groups of 2 or 3, and you may get 2 or 3. So one of the things that I want to say now, and I'll say this over and over and over again, don't change it just because you want your fingerprint on it. And don't change it just because you think that the semantics are not good. You know, of course, if the semantics are bad and it misinterprets what we want to do, we would change it. But I guess the bottom line is don't change just because there's an opportunity to change. If it's not necessary, we're not going to fix it if it's not broken. Okay? So, and at that, I will ask if anybody on the committee has any comments about the way that we're going to develop the plan. No? Is there anyone in the audience? Is there anyone online that's asked for any comments? Okay, the final item here is for our committee comments, and I will start with Mr. Kleckner. Do you have any comments for the committee?
I do, Mr. Chairman. One thing is you just mentioned about the pro shop discussion in the May minutes. That was the last meeting that we had for the Sports Council. So there hadn't been any further discussion after that point. That is something that I would like to see added to the agenda, to have some discussion because of the limited space that they have available to them. And with the fire marshal inspection just prior to that May meeting, reduced his availability of space considerably. So I think that's something that does need to be looked at. He is a strong supporter of the Sports Pavilion, not only with the things that he offers to everybody, but just his own personal touch with the community. And then secondly, I do have a question on, or an understanding possibly, on Pete's Cafe. As I understand, Pete's Cafe currently is open Tuesday through Saturday till 8 o'clock at night. And the bowling center is open until 10 o'clock at night, generally speaking. The most nights, Monday through Friday nights, the bowling completes around sometime shortly after 8 o'clock at night when the Pete's Cafe is not open. I have had numerous people come up to me questioning why they cannot bring in some small snacks, which they have done for years, when there is no availability of anything else in the Sports Pavilion. So that's something I would like to have some discussion on and look at if there's nothing contractually that prevents us from, the individuals from bringing something in to do that. If Pete's is closed and contractually we are bound not to bring anything when they're open.
I think that's certainly something we can talk about. First, I'm going to refer, and I'm going to ask Gary Zarek to to arrange whatever needs to be done for the strike zone issue and the spacing for that. And we can put that on the agenda for next meeting. And basically what we're talking about, well, let me get this clarified is all. We're actually talking about making an exception on a policy. Because the policy is no food. The policy is no outside food. The policy of the bowling alley is not to have outside food. Is that correct? I believe it is. I think it's an operational. Is that, no, I want to get Mr. Zarek. Do you know if that's the policy? Okay, then we need to clarify that. Okay, so this is going to be an issue. Mr. Edge?
Yeah, if I could comment on that. Been bowling there for 8 years, up until very, very recently, and I don't think it has anything to do with Gary implementing a new policy. People have brought in outside food for trivia, for their mahjong, for darts, for after bowling treats. It's been going on as long as I've been here. So it may be a policy, may not, may be a policy that hasn't been enforced. I was on the committee that met with Pete's when we interviewed, decided who was going to go into that restaurant. And one of the things that we stressed and talked about at length in the interviewing process, and he agreed to, was that he would be available, they would be open if only for a walk-up window, which exists. For food and snacks, hot dogs, nachos, whatever other snacks he's offering. And that would be available after the leagues were over. So as Pete pointed out, most of the leagues are over by about 8 o'clock, 8:30. On Thursday nights, they finish up around 9 o'clock. But that was part of our deal with Pete, and maybe we wrote it down, maybe it's just verbal, but I certainly remember it clearly, and I have plenty of notes on it to back that up. And that was one of the things he said, we can certainly do that. Now, in defense of Pete's Cafe, we haven't got the snowbirds back yet, so it may change. But as I bowl, I noticed that after about 6 o'clock, he's got no business in the restaurant. Last night, he closed at 7 o'clock because there wasn't anybody there after 7 o'clock. And I noticed that they were sweeping up, and I went over to talk to Melinda, one of the waitresses, and I ordered 8 empanadas so that we could have some snacks in the lounge afterwards. But the deal was they were supposed to be open, and everybody was happy that they would have a place that they could go buy snacks rather than bring them in. But if he's going to close, then I think we do have to revisit allowing people to bring in snacks. And I think the biggest problem with bringing in snacks is a lot of people don't clean up after themselves. And that shouldn't be the bartender's job or the bowling alley attendants. If you're going to bring snacks in, you ought to be taking care of the cleanup associated with it.
Thank you. And I think that we really have some operational issues here that we have to be considerate about. Is what are the contractual obligations that we have with Pete's Cafe, the whole issue of sanitation in the bowling alley. But I think what this has done is this rises to the idea that we need to get clarity, and we will put this on the agenda. I'm not going to call this Pete's Cafe. This is a question of policy. The policy is, do we have a policy on food in the bowling alley? Is that something there would be a policy on? So I'd probably have to confer with, I'll confer with the president of the board, but also with the general manager. And then the issue, if there's not, what are the implications from sanitation perspective? So I think that at that, for our purposes today, I think this is a very good discussion. And I think you've given us 2 items that we'll put on the agenda for October the 10th. Okay, very good. Alrighty. Thank you very much. That was very helpful. Does anyone have any? Let's keep going because we did this you have a question? We do have wait, let's wait. We're gonna do that after we have the committee and after we have the comments from in-house. So let's finish our committee comments, okay? Actually, Mr. Kleckner, were you done? Okay, Carol?
I'm very happy to hear that the billiard room is getting some attention. I think it's been kind of a forgotten entity, and there's been a lot going on with bowling and with Lizard Acres. So speaking for myself and others that use that room, very, very happy to hear this latest development of new table covers and new cues.
Debbie Coker.
I think the only comment I have would be around Pete's Cafe being closed while there are leagues playing. My lady friends and I, we bowl on Mondays and have always visited the cafe before Pete's moved in to have lunch after bowling, and we're no longer able to do that. So if we could look and see if they're going to be open, that would be great. Thank you.
Sherry?
I had an interesting conversation with Pete because at one of our bowling meetings before we started league, there was discussion, well, we'd go there if he was open, and that was the Monday night league. So I went and talked to him, and I know he's trying to figure it out because he's new and he's waiting for the snowbirds to come back to try to figure out what his hours and staffing levels are needed. But he told me, yep, we'll be open next Monday, which was this past Monday. Well, he wasn't open, and so I called him, and he said, well, we're looking at opening starting in October on Mondays. And I know he's busy. I saw him the other night at one of the when we were bowling, and he was there, and he's a very involved owner of a restaurant that he's trying to figure out how to get the best that he can out of it. But I think he needs to understand that maybe the type of food he's offering isn't exactly bowling food. And I think he's still trying to figure that out, but I do believe his heart's in the right place, and we just have to sit back and work with him, and I think it'll all work out. But don't tell me something and then it doesn't happen. It's kind of, I'm not going to ask him anymore because he's already told me two different things, so.
Mr. Falcone?
I would agree with the comment about the concern for the facility not being open when it's supposed to be, but as a past retailer, I understand the difficulties of staffing. And even here in Sun City West, there's a lot of clubs that can't meet the standards of having monitors there for all the hours that they claim their facilities need to be open. So sometimes you have to wait and give it a chance. I know there was a thorough interview process. This gentleman went into it fully understanding what the conditions would be. So I'd like to hear from him exactly what his standards are and what his expectations are, but it's a two-way street. The community has to be there to support, and not just the bowlers, the community as a whole. Because in previous years, that restaurant was more successful for people going there other than just those people that were using the pavilion. It was kind of a place that you could go to eat, or not a lounge area, but someplace that was available for you to meet with other people. When it was Nemo's, yeah, we'll just meet at Nemo's. But I don't see that happening currently. But give it a chance. It's got to have some time to move forward.
Mr. Edge?
No comments.
Gary? Gary, do you have any comments?
No, sir, I'm all set.
Okay. We're going to, before I adjourn, we're going to just recap that we will have 2 items on our agenda for next, at least 2 items on our agenda for the next meeting. And that will be, it'll be words to the effect, I don't have the verbiage right yet, but it's the space utilization for, do they call that the strike zone? Is that what the name of that? And the same. And then the other, I don't want to sound like we're bashing Pete's Cafe, because we're really not. This is a question of policy on what is the policy, and, you know, there's just a lot of things to be answered here. There's contractual issues, there's sanitation issues, there's a whole litany of things. And we'll capture that in the title of the agenda item for next meeting. So our next meeting is October. Oh, do we have any comments from anyone in the room? We do have one comment, and if you would read who it is and their number.
This is my first level of using this, so I missed it before. There's a comment from someone watching on YouTube, Mary Gainett, rec card number 133113. And her question, or not a question, but her comment is, when looking at policy this year, can you do like they do for golf? Allow a certain amount of time for only residents to sign up for leagues before you open them up to the public.
Okay. Thank you. That's actually a very good question. Very good statement. Okay, so no more comments. This is the last call. It is exactly 2:30. And again, our next meeting is October the 10th. And so at 2:30, this meeting is adjourned.